Hey guys, Lex here, back for some more of The Great Ace Attorney. Last time we finished the second summation examination, and let's continue the trial.
Now then, Lord Van Seeks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed?
This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter.
If I may, Lord Van Seeks.
The defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation to what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Girdeb household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Girdeb's house to the scene is some, 15 yards. Let me see, 15 yards. That's around 14 meters. 14 meters? That's a little farther than I'd imagine. Yeah, but the height. And, as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted as having portentous significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? Yes. And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. There's nothing I could say to that. But that prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Miss Sasato, serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick our battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak?
As a judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes. Go ahead.
The prosecution may consider the idea a fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has the duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Miss Joan Girdeb, must be called to testify and submit to the cross-examination.
Saints alive. A cross-examination of a juror.
That never happened before.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Order. Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of your jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
And unnecessary. Lord Van Seeks.
Oh.
There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before the couple's eyes. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say your witnesses? Uh, yes, sir. Constable Rolly Beate reporting for duty, sir. Oh, well, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir.
Oh, they're so heroic, these London bobbies.
Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more.
Oh, Rolly, my hero. You make me swoon.
Very well, I hereby reject the defense's request.
Oh,
In order that the witnesses understand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of the events. Yes, sir. Constable Beate's report. The case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Believe me, a London bobby is good for his word.
you see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garrett house are top hinge casements.
What?
Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. Couldn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir.
Forgot how we voiced him. Well, this is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows. That detail was not in the police report. Constable.
Ah, yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy.
You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir.
Sorry, but what exactly is a top-hinge casement window?
And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend.
Oh, of course, sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruto. Cast your mind back to the windows in the Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's room.
Alright, I'll try. Oh.
So, the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. But as the top hinge casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see.
I'm glad you rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most important feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount.
It prevents it opening? This is all news to me.
Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or a knife were to have been thrown through the open window,
it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below.
Oh, god damn it!
No! God damn it!
You see the problem then? Good. Your education in Windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already.
That can't... Hey! Did you see that, Rolly? That young Japanese man just collapsed in agony.
Oh, yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me.
Oh, Rolly, you're so strong.
How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Consul, if you could drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination.
My lord. Oh good, another desperate situation.
Hold it!
By what you mean they don't open fully, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see. They're restricted as to how much they open. Therefore, anything thrown out the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Thanks. Here is the location where the objects would have fallen. Yes, directly opposite of the scene of the crime, on the other side on the rather wide road. It have been so hard for somebody to mention this tap hinge case thing before. Well, I have another question for you, Constable.
What would that be, sir?
How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house is furnished with?
Oh, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Mrs. Beate?
Sorry?
You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that?
Oh, I was just remembering, that's all. We really were so lucky.
Lucky? What do you mean?
Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly Speed. It was so close, you see.
Oh, I hadn't realized.
Oh yes, that street, Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rolly Speed and the next one. Isn't that right, my love?
Constable Beate!
Huh? Oh, yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with interviewing the occupants of the Garrideb household yesterday. Their house is on my beat, you see, sir.
That really was cutting it close then.
Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrideb household is on your beat, does that mean the pavement next to it is as well?
Outside Mr. Garrideb's house? Yes, madam. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that.
Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we would have never been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of Bobby, after all.
Extraordinary people are Bobby's, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners.
Yes, and do you know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling?
That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record.
Leave it to me, Mr. Naruto. I'll take care of it immediately.
Case file been updated.
And now it's my turn to think.
What? Oh. Case file. Pavement, east side. But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark.
Oh, but rolling or strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for a lucky star.
Sorry?
A star that will guide us to eternal happiness.
Can it guide you to the answer to the question?
If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Crowley be an inspector, I would have said. 3 times at least.
Of course. What with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you?
Yes, sir. That is correct, sir. As sure as the night sky at London is starless, sir.
It certainly seems like they're telling the truth.
And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we went straight over to help her.
Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right?
That's right, yes. If it had been on a rolly speed, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course.
Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat.
Well, Rolly told me the way, only I sort of got a little lost on the way.
Patricia, darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. What? Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
Oh, please.
So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed.
I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, sir. Nothing to report. That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time, never looked away a second. Sure. No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. I could swear to that on the odds on us, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir. Strange, sir. Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garadev household. So the question remains, how did it find its way to the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time?
Ah, could it be a different copy, sir? One just happened to be burnt as well?
Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As you see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder.
Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene.
Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The two mysteries are how the knife ended up in her back and how the book ended up in her hand. Must be some common thread between them.
So sorry, Mr. Naruto. I had no right to speak out.
What do you mean?
I requested the class an examination of Mrs. Garadev without consulting you. Even if the judge did deny me.
Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. We do need testimony from Mrs. Garadev if we're ever going to get to the truth of this matter.
Oh, do you really think so?
Well, think about it. No matter how far it is across the road or how the window opens, Mr. Garadeb's book found its way to the scene of the crime somehow, didn't it?
You're right.
And there was Mrs. Garadeb's reaction to showing to her the knife. The woman's hiding something, I'm sure of it.
You're right again.
We need to use this cross-examination to uncover more clues. Get to the bottom of this one way or another, I swear.
Yes.
Then I'll do the first one. How can you say that for certain? A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty.
He showed us that before, didn't he?
Did he? I can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the Caliban. It's what this job
That's what the job's all about. And that's why I could stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you a Bobby's good for his word. While rubbing my tired eyes admittedly, sir. Oh, Rolly, you're so badly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. No, this is what I meant. How can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett? Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir. Yes, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time then. Absolutely, sir. I will answer to the fullest of my ability, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. But before I get into that, sir, just one thing. Yes? I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard, so I hope you'll take back some tales of us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here. So to that end, sir, I'd happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Thank you, I'll try. Huh. So that was important. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir. Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Let me check this. Policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. Patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigation and help detective. Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I could tell. What? I wasn't really. What you doing? Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make any sense my testimony is any less valuable. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses, I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, just let me speak, won't you? Yes, Mrs. Beate, I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one. That was a very loud mutter. I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's worth counts for nothing, does he? Oh, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't. Duly noted, Mrs. Beate. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? Oh, I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. Hold it! Mrs. Beate, nobody's questioning what you've told us. I saw it, I did. That evening I saw it clearly. That little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back slinking away from the scene. Ah. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books, knives flying through the sky. All very clear. She was walking the other way. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up in the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Roy. He gets ever so cross. Not again.
Excuse me!
Not again. Constable Beate, is there a problem? Oh, no, sir, no problem, sir.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Oh, in a way, yes, I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening is all.
Hmm? You mean Mrs. Beate lost her way? On the night of the incident?
Well, you see, I sent her off to find the police box in the next beat over from mine. But she was gone a bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone in a good 15. Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was because of the bouquet, silly.
A bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about?
Oh, it was a present for a wedding anniversary. Rolly's so romantic. He saved up for it with the feelings and the happiness he found in the gutter while doing the rounds.
Yes, how romantic.
I've forgotten all about it until just now. And you, my darling.
Oh yes. But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise.
Really? Oh.
What was that all about? Constable Beate looked obviously troubled during that exchange.
I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruto. But I'm quite sure one thing. You have to ask Miss Beate about the bouquet.
Miss Beate, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please.
Oh, really? I'd love to. Dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. What?
You mean you dropped your bouquet at the scene of the crime?
Yes, that's right. I was so upset. When we ran over and I saw the woman with a knife in her back, I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. It was in the dark spot that the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first.
And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose Beate was on.
Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
In case you needed reminding, Miss Beate, the victim is not deceased.
Oh, I was all flustered for the moment I heard the voice calling me from the other side of the road.
Your husband, presumably?
That's right, silly me. I've gotten over to the wrong side of the street. Although, I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think how it got there. Really can't.
The body was moved? So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite. Curious indeed.
Isn't it? But the worst of all is, I forgot to pick up the bouquet again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose Rolly bought me with that exchange from the gutter he spent so long collecting.
By bouquet. Do you perhaps mean this sorry solitary rose?
Oh, yes, that's it. That's the bouquet Rolly bought me for our anniversary, with old bits of change he found in the gutter.
Maybe just call it a rose. Tell us, Lord Varzeeks, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Garadev household. In front of the Garadev's house? Although it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Could I have it back now, please?
No. No, I think for good measure the rose should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh.
The anniversary bouquet has been entered to the court record.
But it's a symbol of her love. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back.
Good grief. Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget misspeak. 12% the rose here?
Objection!
Okay. Phew. You claim, Constable Beate, that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. Huh?
What do you mean to say?
In a testimony now, Mrs. Beate, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with a policeman assigned to the beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single, sorry bloom could be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs.
Meager?
Objection!
But if that were the case, why did the Constable Beate not testify to that fact?
No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beate swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Rolly didn't mention it, I'm sure.
No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Thinking about it, besides Mrs. Beate's bouquet, there's Mr. Girdeb's book. Mr. Girdeb's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife, would have struck the pane on the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beate's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Girdeb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them. Objection!
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rolly's done something wrong.
Dude, don't you listen to a word that Scotty lawyer says. Rhetoric about books and bouquets. Why should we care?
It's nitpicking, that's what it is.
Oh good, Mrs. Girdeb's come around. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Girdeb. But deliberately meddling with the scene of the crime is a criminal offense. It's called,
tampering, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit it to it, for a very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering. You barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there's someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and the testimony points to one particular person. Counsel, I must demand you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with this scene of the crime? Wait, olive green. Improve. Pale, devoted London Bobby. Wife of Constant Rolly Beate. Okay, oh, I almost put the wrong person.
Take that!
Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Royal Beate, it was you.
A
policeman above Scotland Yard.
What nonsense! Why would my Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bob works more tirelessly for the people of London.
Mrs. Beate, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making it up. It's all nonsense, all lies. What about the Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Objection!
You would have seen it. If that was true, Constable Beate would have seen him do it.
Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beate, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Ah, well...
Objection!
First, you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. Evidence. Oh? You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there's only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime. To hide something.
That's right, he's right. But my husband and I just happened to be there, that's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense.
You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Obviously it's like go to his anniversary dinner. Constable Beate has a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair.
Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve the mystery?
Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against the London police officer. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer would be irrevocably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the meaning of this alleged tampering.
Yes, my lord.
Constable Beate's motive for tampering. Where the book fell. Where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you from the start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road, we saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know.
That was certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all.
Huh? What?
I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, counsel. Same. If that is your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing the crime actually took place that evening? Right here.
Take that!
But that's on the opposite side of the road.
I don't understand.
On the evening in question, Mrs. Garradeb's book fell directly from the open window above. Your bouquet, Mrs. Beate, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious.
Oh no! Ah!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right, I saw it with my own eyes.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was a typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Briar Road.
Oh, that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable Beate then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. and during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in the print, the victim herself, 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing.
What did he overlook?
The bouquet, I presume. Exactly.
The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zeke said, "It wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light."
Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in the original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road.
Oh,
And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Royal Beate. Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important?
oh, Rolly. It isn't true, is it? What that lawyer man said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know.
I didn't mess with this crime scene. I had a dream, a terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out, everything exposed. Huh? Only, it seems, it wasn't a dream at all. Good golly.
Oh no! Oh!
Order. What on earth is the meaning of all this?
Oh, Rolly, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it?
Wishing the victim dead shouldn't be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London Town. Oh, I can't say, sir. What? I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation. For everything. I have a possible explanation. For why, on that particular evening, Constable Beate felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Van Zakes, it is a foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you'd better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan, it makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind the man's actions. What gives away the motive for the Constable Beate's unthinkable actions? Either the bouquet, because it's their anniversary, or the warrant card. Patrolling officer. Wait. Yep. He must discover, he must assist. It's either this or the bouquet. I'm just gonna do this because we haven't given it yet.
Take that!
I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I have only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on this beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt the young bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. But for Constable Beate, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord.
Oh, yes. It was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable Beate had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal, when he and Mrs. Beate stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's mind? But just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beate puts up a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. This is the warrant card that Constable Beate offered to lend me earlier. Inside among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on this beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Constable Beate. Is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Yes. Everything you said, it's alright. So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat.
Oh,
Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beate's beat.
good gracious. Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done?
It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. I've got to respond to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned to me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigation and help detectives. Why here? It'd have to happen here. And why tonight of all nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then when I opened my mouth to speak. It just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So you'll have to go to the police box that covers it, turn right along Meersham Street, and then... Oh. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh, Constable.
I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner.
Oh, really?
Just that one night. Oh. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined, as you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought, well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see.
I beg your pardon. Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Rolly would never left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement.
I see your meaning now. But God got my back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat.
Oh no, Rolly, that was all my fault. I should have never dropped it in such a dark place. So sorry, Rolly.
And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total? 4, was it? Yes, definitely, 4.
3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, the 4th being one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garadeb household, of course.
What made you place the book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean. Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. How you found it? What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You're sure it was this book, Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding? Oh yes, sir, no doubt about it, sir. Interesting. The 4th book information has been updated. Okay. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There was only 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However, which way you look at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. Didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. My lord. Yes, Lord Van Zieks. I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witness. Huh? Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir.
Mr. Prosecution, sir, what will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him?
Jail, execution. For now, you are free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please don't punish my husband. This is all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late.
Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired.
All right then, my love.
One last thing, Constable. Sir? Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you. Yes, sir. Carve that lesson into your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Never again, sir. You mean to say?
Leave now. This trial is not over.
Sir.
This looks like a good place to stop, and next time we'll continue the trial. Thanks for watching. See ya.